Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm really great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you so much for joining me today for a little bit of a conversation about our partnership together here today between Findity and Nmbrs.
No problem.
Before we jump into all the questions that I want to just chat about, could you just explain to me and to all the listeners maybe what is your role currently at Nmbrs?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a product manager at Nmbrs, focused on our Plus features. Maybe to give a bit of context, a Plus feature you can see as an add-on added to the core product, which is a feature not necessarily everyone needs to activate. Sort of modules, you can see it like that. Yeah, and I've been doing it now for a year, and before that I've been having different other roles. I'm now for 9 years working at Nmbrs.
Wow, 9 years, so you've been here for a while.
Indeed, yeah.
Great stuff.
Part of the furniture.
So then I think the first question I will ask you would be pretty easy. To those listening in, what does Nmbrs actually do?
Yeah, smart. So Nmbrs, we are a Visma company, and what we do is we operate within the Dutch market and in the Swedish market, and we create a platform focused for HR and payroll processing. Our product is being used by businesses, so employers, but also by accountants or salary administrators doing then the processing for their customers. And on a monthly basis, we run 1.5 million, a little over 1.5 million payslips. So we've been around, and our aim is to make the life of an employee better. And what we see is that a satisfied employee is really what creates the success of a company. So what we want to do is basically ensure that you can trust our software with its HR process to run smoothly for you, so that you can have time and can take care of your employees, basically. That's our focus.
Great. And you're only in the Netherlands, or do you have more markets?
In Netherlands and Sweden.
Netherlands and Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, we are here to chat more about expense management. And to start off in that direction a little bit, what is the value that you guys see, given that it's not necessarily your core, maybe? What is the value you see of having an expense offering to your customers alongside your core offer?
So we see that expense management is really something that is connected to this payroll aspect. And since we want to offer everything that is really connected in the basic processes of that payroll area, we really feel that it should be in there, and that's also what our customers are expecting from us to deliver.
Great. And I know that you, even before talking to us at Findity, have an expense product. How come you even started looking for a different solution to begin with?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. So within our core offering, there is a basic functionality focused on expense management, where any company is able to very simply set up their expense management processes. But what we found over the years, because it's been running since forever, that functionality, but we found that a lot of feature requests have been coming in on our community where our customers can vote, and those votes have been going up. So we really found that the feature requests that they have been sharing with us have been bigger rather than smaller for us to just do small tweaks in the functionality that we were offering. So we basically concluded that the investment would be really big for us to deliver ourselves. So that's why we started looking around.
Okay, I understand. So could you say that since it maybe not the core that you have, it was one of the reasons why you also felt that you wouldn't want to continue to invest in this?
Yeah, indeed. So we were basically lacking expertise to deliver the feature requests that were asked by our customers. Yeah. So that would just require a lot of resources, but also time in finding the right people to help us out there, because we didn't have that in-house.
And when you landed in this, you had this sort of like aha moment, this may not be the route forward.
Yeah.
We need maybe to work with someone else. which options did you look at to sort of explore this? Because there's obviously different paths you can go down.
Yeah, so initially, of course, we tried to look into, can we build it ourselves? But along the way, we found out that the feature requests that were being asked were not necessarily asked by everyone. So then we always determined, when we invest in our core product, would it help our whole customer base or just a bigger group? So that's a bit of the balance that we were looking for. And if you looked at the feature requests, it was things like the scanning receipts and recognizing what was on there. It was sending in expenses in bulk, so in one go. It was also a separate manager app. So there were a lot of things that were more extensive that we found, okay, a smaller company, which is basically what a lot of Nmbrs customers are, a bit smaller, so it's more of the SMB market that we are focusing on. Not necessarily they have the requirements or the needs to have all of those things. So that's where we figured, okay, in-house, and that was basically a no-go. If you look at our integration partnership landscape, there were several partners that were offering expense management, but then we could forward those customers to them, but then it would not be something that was in product, and that was basically what this customer group is asking from us. So that was then also, not really the way to go for us. And then the last option was to look at a partner who would be able to basically do it 10 times better as we would be ever to be able to deliver that ourselves, and then white label that within our own product.
Okay, so you actually had sort of white labeling in mind from the get-go?
Yeah, indeed.
And before I move on to my next question, I think it's just interesting with the integrations, or some may call it marketplace or app stores or whatever you may have.
Yeah.
There's many solutions for expense management on the market, of course. Yeah. Was it important for you to really offer sort of your own solution rather than just sending, directing your own customers, which it is, to someone else? Was that very important for you?
Yeah, after a while that became important because we then saw that the amount of votes that we had on this feature request became so extensive that was the moment where we felt, okay, so this is really something that customers are expecting us to deliver within the product. So that's where we really knew, okay, we cannot forward them to our best of breed partners that we were having integrating with us. That really then became not an option anymore. So that was really when we thought, okay, we've been having some experience with white labeling products within our offering. Why not look into that route?
That's great. Because then my next question is, like, how did you land in just white labeling? But maybe you actually answer that unless you have more to add.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it was indeed because we've been having that positive experience. And so we now have, or before we started collaborating with you guys, we've had 4+ features, all being white labeled within our product. And what we've really been looking into is sort of switching between the best of breed to becoming a bit of the best of breed suite offering. And I can explain that a bit. So before we noticed that then customers wouldn't mind integrating together our platform with another, for instance, an applicant tracking system connected to ours, it would be fine. But over the years, we've now been seeing that customers are expecting us to have that within our own suite. So that's why we are really a believer of becoming a more of a best of suite offering, having the expertise in specific features, not just a tiny feature, but really something solid that a customer is able to activate if they have the need for it, but not yet becoming an ERP, having this whole platform for a whole organization. The best of suite is more focused then on, in this case, then more of the HR and payroll, and then everything that comes with it. So that's really the shift that we've been making. So that's why we really found it that it made sense to then also look into white labeling in this particular case.
In expense management as well.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
Yeah, because I mean, as a customer, if you have a great experience with Nmbrs and the brand that you have maybe a key account manager or this type, you have connections with the company.
Yeah.
In order to get a complete experience from one provider, I think is very key, right? In this, in how you guys have chosen to, bring a product or offering to the market.
Yeah, and indeed, we still have our marketplace with, what is it, over 180 partners that customers can still choose from. So we really, we have best of both worlds, but we see that there's more of this shift than happening. But we still value our partners that we are having as in the integration landscape, so that's also important for us. But yeah, that really made sense to take that step in this case.
Okay, so when you were looking for a tech partner to really work with here, now when you had settled for, white label expense management is an option for you. Yeah. What were the sort of must-haves and requirements that you looked for in a tech vendor, a tech partner for you guys?
Yeah, so the first thing here for us would be product alignment. Makes sense, I would say, but not necessarily having all then the features that we were looking for. But we are product people, so we want to have the feeling that we are wowed by a product, and to really have a secure feeling that our customers would be serviced by that specific product in the best way possible, even better than we would be able to do it. So that was definitely the first criteria. Then the second one, and important for us, is the cultural compatibility. Since our previous experiences, we really found that for us it's really important to have our cultures match together. We are a company without any managers, we're a flat organization, and we need partners to understand that decisions can be made by different people, not necessarily ahead of something. So that's a really important aspect, not to get into any difficulty along the way. And then, of course, the last one is the investment versus the potential. We really had to, of course, see that when embarking on a journey with a partnership, that the investment would, of course, be surpassed by the potential that we have. So that was definitely the list of the, I think, 3 biggest criteria that we were having.
And on the product alignment side, what did you really prioritize in terms of maybe advanced functionalities? Like AI is a buzzword, of course, or it's very much real, not even a buzzword anymore. Things like card connections and whatnot. How important was it to find a partner or a provider that could really provide these sort of advanced type of functionalities? Yeah,
well, for us, initially, of course, we were looking for the total package in the sense of it needed to cover the feature functionalities that our core offering was having, and then added on the feature requests that we were having from that customer group. So it needed to, of course, firstly uphold all of those functionalities within one, but then we want to also choose a partner that is future-proof. Us ourselves, we are very future-minded. We try to go and ride every new technology wave, if you can call it that, that we can. So focusing on automation and AI and card payments and basically everything that makes life a lot more easier for the customer, but also where we see our partner thriving on new tech developments. That's a really important aspect for us. So when we would find such a partner, then we at least would have the security of knowing this is a relationship that is there for the future if we would start together.
So you always had sort of the long-term aspect.
For sure,
in it. Great. Of course, working with other companies, you mentioned cultural aspects and all the different key things that you looked for. But there could also always be challenges, of course. Sure. What kind of, to those listening in who may not be working with the white label partners or any tech providers in the sense that you maybe have a lot of experience in, not only with us, but with others, what challenges did you kind of anticipate going into a partnership like this?
So in this specific case being expense management, I think our first big challenge was to understand a new product, of course, but also understand a new persona. When selling our core product or other plus features that we've been having, it's been mainly to either the HR manager or HR specialist and the payroll administrator or the head of payroll or anything related to payroll. And in this case, we were focusing then more on the financial admin, who is then also looking more into the expense management processes. And that was really a new journey for us to get to know that persona and to make sure that we bring the right message across and we understand that message ourselves. So that was, I think, the biggest challenge of grasping all the nice functionality that this new product possesses, and then being able to pinch into whatever that persona would tell you during a sales demo to make sure that you're really hitting the right spots into making someone enthusiastic about what we're trying to offer to them. And then next to that, we, as you said, and as we mentioned earlier, we have our core offering, which is a basic module. And we, since there was a lot of usage still in the basic module, we didn't want to downscale that yet. And we're not sure if we're going to do so in the future, because we really want to have the option for customers to, if you want extensive functionality, then you go for a plus feature, which is also what we've been doing with our previous plus feature if we were to offer a tiny module in core. So the challenge there was to explain what are the differences and what is beneficial for you, and to really make sure that customers understand what they need to go for, and of course then highlighting more plus features, which has a lot more benefits. So that we knew was going to be a new challenge because that was just a big thing for us to do.
So how do you then, because you anticipated these challenges, and like how do you then make sure you proactively kind of, I mean, it's a collaboration or partnership as well. How do you ensure that you can prevent those going into the partnership, or even getting the support from the partner to minimize the challenges that you kind of anticipate or see early on?
Yeah, no, I think that for these challenges, the key was communication. I think it was the key in sense of communication between us as partnerships. So we really, we found that we could rely on all the knowledge that you guys were offering, and that was very valuable for us to get our messaging correct and really feel that we're owning that message ourselves. So communication amongst each other and the support that we got there, that was crucial for us to understand this new persona and then start conversating with them. And then with regards to the differences between our core and then our plus feature focused on expense management, there it was really, again, crucial communication into how are we showing these differences, being transparent about it, and really being open towards our customers as to, and clear, I would say, as to what they can expect there. So I think communication, open and transparent communication for sure.
Communication is key, always.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, I gotta ask, but we kind of touched on it already, that we are already working together, but how come that you ultimately, you know, landed on it's Findity that we want to partner with for your now Nmbrs expense solution?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing I have to say is, of course, the product. That was something that, besides, of course, all the things that I mentioned that we needed to see in this product, it was instantly obvious for us that this would match the Nmbrs look and feel if we were to, let's say, add the Nmbrs colors and a logo. So that was, I think, straight away that we knew, okay, this is top-notch what you guys are offering, and it was 10 times better than what we were having, and that what we would anticipate to even be able to build ourselves. So that was, I think, a really easy thing that we know you guys have a specific focus within the organization, and that you also see when you look at the user interface and the user experience of different personas, such as the the admin or the manager or even the employee. So that's what you really see back within the product. So that was really what we were loving in the beginning. And then the second thing what's really important for us is that you have experience with white labeling. That's basically your core and your focus in how you operate. So when we found that out, that we knew that you guys were experts at this, we knew that if we were to embark on a journey with you, it would be a success guaranteed looking at your portfolio. So I would say that, that made it really easy for us to choose you, especially looking at previous partnerships that didn't have experience. That's a rather bumpy road looking or finding everything out together instead of having a partner that knows, no, this is the process, this is what we can offer you content-wise. And so that was really well received on our end. And then, the third one, as I mentioned, which is important for us, is the cultural compatibility. And then we also noticed that, in communication with you guys, it feels informal. There's not that much hierarchy, even though that there is, but it's a rather flat organization. So, that worked for us. And then a last one is that you guys had experience with the single sign-on, Visma Connect. And usually we've been partnering up with a Visma company because then they would have experience with this Visma Connect. And Visma Connect is basically the front door within Nmbrs. So if you enter, you get access to every other plus feature that we would for instance, have. So then when we knew that you guys knew how to build that, then that was all those 4 boxes ticked. So that was just, I think basically that we came down to the conclusion that collaborating with you would be a guaranteed success.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
And it's always the key of, as you mentioned, that's all we do at Findity. We work with a white label or through the Expense API as an embedded solution. It's all we take to market, and we build an entire organization to help partners like yourself to really succeed. So I think it's great to hear that also comes through while collaborating. But you mentioned now you felt they would be a success. So let's move on then. We haven't been live for too long.
No, indeed.
So what would you say are, at least so far, the successes that we have seen?
Yeah, so I think that when you would look at the numbers, I think up until now, it's been the most successful first half year we've had looking at our Plus feature history. If you compare it to the last one we launched in the first half year, we've been able to double the customer base. So that's already been a great success. So that means around 300 users that we've been adding over a month. That's already been a great success, that we've been having a bit of this steep curve instead of a bit of a slower start. So that's wonderful, a great projection for what's coming ahead, I would say. But another success that I find important is that we really enjoy collaborating with you, but then in a way that, since the Netherlands is then a first journey for you guys to expand to a different country. And what we really enjoy here is that you really value our input. And of course, you were able, before we launched, to abide by the rules and regulations. But as we've been starting, we've been talking to prospects, and they've been seeing, okay, I expect this within the feature. And every communication that we've been having, we really just felt heard. And we feel that you guys are taking us seriously in getting it right. So that really, I would say, is also, for me at least personally, also a success, that we just have a very strong connection into determining what is needed to succeed in the long run. So yeah, I value that a lot.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, for us, Netherlands was a new market coming in, and as you know, we always adopt the product to fit the markets that we work in from a tax regulation perspective, language, all of these things. And then you have to rely on also the local experts in that market, not only yourselves, but also from our perspective, third parties to really validate the correct tax regulation data that we use, etc., so that we can deliver the product together.
Yeah, and that was just, of course, from the beginning, that was all in the product, so that was great. And it was just interesting to see that whatever customers would require feature-wise, not rules and regulations, as that was in order. Yeah, that was a really, it felt like smooth sailing together.
Great.
Yeah.
So a good start.
Yeah.
Still, again, fairly early on, but I'm excited for the future.
Yeah.
What do you feel is sort of the outlook going forward for Nmbrs expense?
Well, I think that what we aim for with our Plus features to every year more than double our numbers. As we've been seeing, we try to have, let's say, this sort of a hockey stick curve into success numbers-wise. But what we also see is that, let's say, when a Plus feature is running more smooth, so in this case, Nmbrs expense, less contact means that it's going well. So I would also say that I think after a while, we will become more of a sparring partner into how you would suggest we would, let's say, market new specific features. So we would really stay in contact in a bit of a similar but then different way, since now it's, I guess, makes sense that it's sometimes a bit more about feature focus, or that us understanding how some aspects work. But I'm really seeing that that's more of the level that we will be collaborating on in the future. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Great,
me too. Thank you so much, Sara, for joining me for this little conversation, and hope everyone listening as well that you enjoyed this. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.